The night they found me, I was 32 weeks pregnant with the child everyone claimed should not exist. I was standing behind the storage room of a 24-hour laundromat, one hand pressed over the hard curve beneath my coat, the other wrapped around the only proof I had left, a folded ultrasound photo with my name half smeared by rain. The machine behind me rattled like it was trying to scream. Outside, headlights slid across the wet alley wall, slow and black and deliberate. No one came to this part of Haven Row after midnight unless they were lost, desperate, or sent by someone powerful enough to know where desperate people hid. I had changed my name twice. I had paid cash for every room. I had stopped using clinics after the nurse looked at my blood work and went pale. Still, they had found me. The baby shifted under my palm, a small, sharp kick, as if he knew before I did that running had stopped being enough. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. No caller ID. I should have thrown it into the gutter. Instead, fear made me stupid. I looked. One message glowed on the cracked screen. We know about the heir. My breath vanished. Not the baby. Not the mistake. Not the shameful little problem my family had called him when they shoved a bag of cash at me and told me to disappear. The heir. That word did not belong to me. It belonged to locked boardrooms, private security, men in dark coats, and the kind of alpha bloodlines people killed to protect. I backed away from the alley entrance, but my heel struck the metal bucket behind me. The sound cracked through the laundromat like a gunshot. One of the headlights went dark. A car door opened. I shoved the ultrasound into the lining of my coat and reached for the silver hospital bracelet I kept tied around my wrist beneath my sleeve. The bracelet was old now, the print faded, but the number on it was still readable. Mercy General. Prenatal intake. Patient, Noah Bell. Father, unknown. That last word had been typed by someone who had never seen the way Adrian Cross looked at me 6 months ago, before everything burned. Or maybe they had seen it and erased it on purpose. I had tried to tell him. I had stood outside. The Cross Tower service entrance with a positive test in my shaking hand and his private number written on the back of a receipt. I remembered the rain that night too. I remembered the guard taking one look at me and saying, "Mr. Cross doesn't meet with people like you." By morning, the number was disconnected. By afternoon, my father said I had disgraced our name. By night, I was on a bus with $43, 2 protein bars, and a child inside me no one wanted to admit was real. Another message arrived. Stop hiding, little Omega. The child belongs to blood stronger than yours. My knees nearly gave out. They knew what I was. The blockers on my wrist had been cheap, bought online under a fake beta registration, but they had held for weeks. I pressed the patch through my sleeve, praying the edge had not lifted. If my scent leaked now, every alpha in a 3-block radius would know a pregnant Omega was cornered. The laundromat owner, Mrs. Alvarez, was asleep in the office with the television murmuring. She had let me clean machines at night in exchange for cash and silence. She did not know I slept in the storage room when the shelters were full. She did not know the baby's father might be the most feared alpha CEO on the East Coast. She definitely did not know men were now outside her business because of me. I moved toward the back exit. 3 steps. 4. The baby kicked again, harder this time, and pain flashed low through my body. Not now. Please, not now. My fingers found the little envelope taped beneath the detergent shelf. Emergency money, fake ID, the bus schedule to Ohio. It was supposed to be my last escape, but when I tore it free, something slipped out with it. A second ultrasound copy. I froze. I had never put that there. This one was cleaner than mine, printed on thick clinic paper I had never seen, with a red circle drawn around a line of genetic markers at the bottom. Beside it, written in black ink, were 3 words, cross-paternal match. The back door handle turned before I could breathe. Locked. Someone was outside that way too. My phone buzzed a 3rd time. This message was not from the same number. It had only 2 words. Stay inside. The front bell of the laundromat chimed. Heavy footsteps crossed the tile, unhurried, confident, not like men searching for prey, but like a man entering a place he already owned. I clutched the ultrasound to my chest and looked through the narrow crack between the shelves. A tall alpha in a black coat stood under the fluorescent lights, rain shining on his shoulders, his face half hidden in shadow. Every man outside had gone silent. Then he lifted his eyes straight toward the storage room and said my real name. Noah Bell. The voice broke the last safe thing inside me, because I knew it. Adrian Cross stepped fully into the fluorescent light, the alpha I had tried to reach months ago, the man whose name had been erased from my hospital file, standing 10 feet away from me like a nightmare dressed in a tailored black coat. My body reacted before my mind could. One hand clamped over my stomach. The other crushed the clean ultrasound copy against my chest until the paper bent. His eyes dropped to the movement, and something sharp passed through his face, too fast to name. Behind him, the front windows filled with shadows. 3 men stood outside in the rain, not entering, not leaving, waiting for his permission or fearing it. Adrian did not look back at them. Open the door, Noah. I didn't move. The storage room suddenly felt too small, the back exit locked behind me, the aisle ahead blocked by the alpha who had once been my only hope and then my worst silence. If you came to take him, I said, my voice barely holding together, you'll have to kill me first. That changed him. Not softened. Changed. His jaw tightened, and the cold control around him cracked just enough for me to see anger underneath, but it was not aimed at me. Him, he repeated, quieter. The baby kicked under my palm. Adrian heard my breath catch. His gaze went to my coat again, then to my wrist where the old hospital bracelet had slipped out from under my sleeve. Who else knows? He asked. The question hit wrong. Not denial. Not accusation. Strategy. Apparently everyone except you. I whispered. A fist pounded against the back door. The metal shook once, then again. I flinched so hard. Pain stabbed through my side. Adrian moved. He crossed the laundromat in 3 strides, but he did not touch me. He stopped at the edge of the shelf, close enough that his scent cut through the detergent and rain, cedar, iron, and winter smoke, strong enough to make my blockers feel useless. Stay behind me. No. Then stand where I can see both doors. It was not gentle, but it was not a command that took my body from me. That made it worse. It made me hesitate. The back door slammed again. From the front, one of the men outside finally spoke through the glass. Mr. Cross, step away from the Omega. We have a recovery order. Recovery. The word crawled over my skin. Adrian turned his head slowly. Show it. A phone screen was lifted against the window. Even from the storage room, I saw the official seal glowing blue-white. My knees weakened. A custody hold. They had not come to scare me. They had come with paper strong enough to steal my child legally. Adrian looked at the screen for half a second. That seal is dead, he said. The man outside went still. It expired 3 years ago after Judge Halden was removed for taking syndicate money. My heart stuttered. Adrian knew that without checking. The men outside knew he knew. Power shifted so sharply the air seemed to bend. One of them reached inside his coat. Adrian's hand moved beneath his own coat. Not rushed, not dramatic, just final. Try, he said. No one did. The back door stopped shaking. Mrs. Alvarez's office television murmured down the hall, oblivious and small. Adrian pulled out his phone and spoke one sentence to someone I could not see. Lock down Mercy General's prenatal archive and find who accessed Noah Bell's file tonight. My blood ran cold. Tonight. His eyes came back to me. They didn't find you by chance. The ultrasound copy trembled in my hand. I looked down at the red circle, at the words cross-paternal match, and understood something worse than being hunted. Someone had known before I did that Adrian's blood was in my child. Someone had planted proof where I would find it only when it was too late to hide from it. Adrian saw the paper. This time, he did not ask permission before. Stepping closer, but he still stopped short of touching me. Where did you get that? It was taped under the shelf. His face went colder than the rain outside. That isn't from Mercy General. The front window cracked as one of the men struck it with something hard. Mrs. Alvarez screamed from the office. Adrian's gaze snapped toward the sound, and the room became motion. Now you choose, he said. Walk out with me, or they take you through the back in cuffs and call it protection. I hated him for being right. I hated my hand for reaching toward him. But before my fingers touched his sleeve, the baby kicked again, and the folded ultrasound slipped from my grip onto the tile between us. Adrian looked down. The black ink, the red circle, the impossible match. His voice dropped so low I almost didn't hear it over the rain and cracking glass. Noah, he said, who told you this child had no father? Before I could answer, the front window shattered. Rain and glass burst across the laundromat floor, and Adrian moved between me and the men outside so fast his coat snapped like a black wing. Back exit is compromised, he said into his phone. North wall. 30 seconds. I still had not taken his hand. He noticed. Even with armed men closing in, even with my breath breaking and the baby pressing painfully low, he noticed that one small refusal. His hand opened, palm up, not grabbing, not claiming. Noah, walk beside me then, not behind me. That was the first thing he said that did not sound like an order. I stepped out from the storage room as another crack split the glass. One of the men shouted that I was under protective recovery. Adrian did not look at him. Protection does not arrive with forged warrants and guns. A black SUV slammed through the alley entrance, blocking the rear door from the outside. Two of Adrian's security men spilled out, not touching me either, only forming a wall wide enough for my shaking body to pass through. Mrs. Alvarez stood in the office doorway, pale and clutching a baseball bat. Her eyes dropped to my stomach, then to the armed men, then to Adrian. I expected fear, disgust, questions. Instead, she threw my old canvas bag at me. You forgot this, baby. My throat closed. Adrian caught it before it hit the wet floor and handed it to me without opening it. The small mercy hurt worse than suspicion. The ride to the safe house was silent for exactly 4 minutes. Then Adrian's phone lit up on the console, and a clipped voice said, "Sir, the recovery order is already circulating." Someone leaked it to 3 outlets. Headline claims an unidentified pregnant Omega attempted to extort the Cross family with a fraudulent heir. The word fraudulent struck harder than the glass. I folded over my stomach. The baby kicked once, sharp and angry. Adrian's fingers tightened on the steering wheel until the leather creaked. "Kill the story. We can slow it," the voice said. "Not kill it. Not without naming him." Adrian's eyes flicked to me. Naming me meant dragging me into daylight before I was ready. Naming me meant every person who had laughed at my father's shame, every nurse who had looked away, every Cross employee who had denied me at the door, would know I had been telling the truth or think I was lying louder. "Don't," I said. Adrian looked back at the road. "I won't." No argument. No demand. Just that. The safe house was not a house. It was a sealed penthouse above a private medical wing, all white stone, dark glass, silent guards, and cameras tucked into corners like watchful eyes. Safety with teeth. I stopped at the threshold. Adrian stopped too, though every second we stood there gave the world more time to decide I was a liar. "There are cameras in the hallways," he said. "Not in the bedrooms. Not in the exam room. You can ask to see the feeds at any time." I almost laughed. "You expect me to believe that?" "No," he stepped aside. "I expect you to check." A woman in gray scrubs was waiting inside with a portable scanner and a locked tablet. "Dr. Mara Voss," she said, voice calm but eyes too alert. "I need to check the baby's heartbeat first. Everything else can wait." That was the only reason I let her close. Not Adrian. Not the guards. The heartbeat. The exam room smelled of antiseptic and expensive air filtration. I lay back with my coat still half on and one hand gripping the hospital bracelet beneath my sleeve. Adrian stayed near the door until I said, "If you're going to hover, stand where I can see you." He moved instantly into my line of sight. The scanner touched my stomach, cold enough to make me flinch. Then sound filled the room. Fast, steady, alive. My eyes burned. Adrian went completely still. Not proud. Not triumphant. Struck. Dr. Voss looked at the screen, then at the old bracelet on my wrist, then at the clean ultrasound copy we had brought from the laundromat. Her calm changed. "This report wasn't just edited," she said. Adrian's voice dropped. "Explain." She turned the tablet so we could see 2 files side by side. One said father, unknown. The other, hidden behind a restricted layer, showed a blocked paternal match and a timestamp from 6 months ago. My fingers went numb. 6 months ago was before I ran. Before the bus. Before I knew who had abandoned whom. Dr. Voss swallowed. Someone removed the match, changed the prenatal risk notes, and marked Noah as psychologically unstable. The room tilted. Why would they do that? I asked, though part of me already knew. Adrian did not answer. Dr. Voss did. Because if this ever reached court, those notes would make it easier to take the child from you. Adrian's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, and the last warmth left his face. Mercy General Archive is locked. Whoever altered the file used cross-level family clearance. Dr. Voss looked from him to me, pale now. "Adrian," she said carefully, "that means the person who erased him wasn't outside your house." Dr. Voss's words did not echo. They landed like a verdict. Adrian did not deny them, and that frightened me more than if he had. He took the tablet from her, thumb moving once across the screen, then stopped as if the next file had burned him. "There's a second alteration," he said. Dr. Voss leaned closer. I stayed on the exam table with gel cooling on my stomach and my hand locked around the hospital bracelet, because if I let go, I was afraid the floor would vanish. Adrian turned the screen toward me. A note had been added to my file 3 days after my first prenatal intake. Patient exhibits fixation on Adrian Cross. Possible fabricated paternity claim. Recommend no direct contact. My mouth went dry. I never said that. "I know," Adrian said. No hesitation. No pause. Just belief, immediate and brutal enough to make my chest hurt. Dr. Voss printed the page before anyone could erase it again, then sealed it in a clear evidence sleeve. "This was not written by a doctor," she said. "The syntax is legal, not medical." Adrian's phone rang before she finished. The name on the screen made his face close. "Cross Legal." He answered on speaker. "Sir," a woman said, tense and clipped. "A petition just hit family court. Emergency prenatal guardianship review. They're claiming Noah Bell is a flight risk and psychologically unstable." My whole body went cold. "They can do that before the baby is born?" "They can try," Adrian said. The lawyer continued. "There's more. The petition includes testimony from a witness who says Noah attempted to enter Cross Tower 6 months ago while delusional and aggressive." The room narrowed to the sound of my own heartbeat and the baby's fading rhythm on the monitor. I was wet. I whispered. I was scared. I had a pregnancy test in my hand. I begged the guard to call him. Adrian's eyes lifted slowly to mine. "What guard?" I laughed once, but there was no sound in it. "You think I knew his name?" He wouldn't even look at me like I was human. Adrian did not move for a second. Then he turned to his lawyer. "Pull every service entrance recording from that night. Already requested. The archive says footage unavailable." Dr. Voss looked up sharply. "Unavailable or deleted?" The lawyer's silence answered first. "Deleted," she said. "But not cleanly. There's a ghost file." Adrian's gaze did not leave me. "Recover it. It'll take time. You have 10 minutes. He ended the call. I pushed myself upright too quickly, pain tightening low through my abdomen. Adrian took one step forward, then stopped himself with visible effort. "Don't," I said. "I wasn't going to touch you. Everyone says that before they take something." The words came out before I could soften them. His face changed, not wounded, not offended, but struck in the place guilt lives when it has. "Nowhere to hide." "Then I'll stand here," he said. "And you tell me what they took." I should not have answered. Telling him gave him weight inside the memory, and he had already been there too long. But Dr. Voss placed a paper cup of water beside me. The lawyer called back, and the screen on the wall flickered to life with a corrupted video from 6 months ago. Rain blurred half the image. There I was, thinner, shaking, one hand wrapped around a drugstore test, the other gripping the rail outside Cross Tower. The guard blocked me. No audio at first. Then static cracked, and my own voice came through, small and broken. "Please, tell him Noah Bell is here. Tell him I need 5 minutes." The guard looked past me, listening to someone through an earpiece. His posture changed. He was not deciding. He was receiving instructions. The audio distorted. Then another voice came through faintly, filtered by rain and static. "Remove him before Adrian sees him. If he claims pregnancy, document instability." Adrian went still. Dr. Voss froze with the evidence sleeve in her hand. I stopped breathing. "Play it again," Adrian said. The lawyer did. The voice was warped, but not enough. It carried the calm authority of someone used to being obeyed inside his house. Adrian's hand curled slowly at his side. "That order came from inside the family channel," he said. I stared at the screen, at my past self being pulled away before I could reach the only person who might have believed me. Then the recovered video jumped to its final frame. The guard handing my pregnancy test to someone just outside the camera's edge. Only one thing was visible before the file ended. A signet ring stamped with the Cross family crest. Adrian whispered a name I had never heard before, and Dr. Voss went pale. "If that ring is his," she said, "then Noah wasn't hidden from you because they doubted the child." The power failed before she could finish. The lights died, but the screen did not. For one thin second, the final image of the ghost file stayed suspended in the dark. Rain, my younger face, the guard's hand, and that ring pressed with the cross crest. Then emergency power kicked in with a red pulse. Along the floor, Adrian was already moving. Seal the medical wing. His voice was low enough to be calm and cold enough to make the guards outside the door run. Dr. Voss grabbed the evidence sleeve and shoved it against my chest. Do not let anyone take this from you. That was when I understood she was scared too. Not for her job. Not for Adrian. For me. The wall monitor flickered back to life, but the ghost file was gone. In its place, a single line blinked across the screen. Remote wipe complete. Adrian stared at it, and for the first time since he had walked into the laundromat, he looked too late. No, he said. Dr. Voss was already typing into her tablet. The print copy survived. The bracelet data survived. The hidden prenatal layer is still cached locally. She paused, eyes narrowing. But something else just unlocked. The tablet chimed once. A new file opened by itself, older than the medical edits, older than the court petition, attached to my blood work under a sealed cross-family protocol. I saw Adrian's name, then mine, then a phrase that made no sense until Dr. Voss went completely still. Primary succession-compatible paternal match confirmed. Unborn issue qualifies as direct heir under cross-blood continuity statute. My hand tightened over my stomach. Direct heir. Adrian did not answer fast enough. Dr. Voss did, because doctors understood wounds better than powerful men understood silence. Noah, this was never about proving whether the baby was his. Her voice softened, but the truth inside it was merciless. It was about preventing anyone else from proving it first. Adrian looked at the screen as if the words had rearranged his entire life. My father's will, he said. The board control clause. Dr. Voss swallowed. If Adrian produces a confirmed heir before the succession review, voting control returns to his line permanently. The room shifted under me. The fake notes. The erased calls. The guard. The petition. The men outside the laundromat. Not because they thought I was lying. Because they knew I was not. Because the child I had been told was shame, mistake, delusion, and leverage was actually the one life powerful enough to take something from them. I laughed once, a broken sound I did not recognize. So they didn't erase him because he didn't matter. Adrian's eyes came to mine, dark with fury and something worse. They erased him because he mattered more than anyone. The baby kicked beneath my hand, hard and alive, and the small movement turned the evidence sleeve against my chest into something heavier than paper. For months, I had believed I was carrying proof of my own humiliation. Now I was holding proof of a war. Adrian stepped closer, then stopped exactly where I could still choose the distance between us. Noah, he said, and my name sounded different now. Not like possession, not like pity. Like a debt. I didn't know. The cruel part of me wanted that to be enough. The wounded part wanted to believe it. But the part of me that had slept behind detergent shelves and counted kicks in motel bathrooms could not let him have absolution just because the truth had finally become useful to him. You didn't look, I said. The words hit harder than I expected. Adrian took them without flinching. No, I didn't. That changed more than an apology would have. He did not defend himself. He did not blame the deleted footage or the family channel or the ring. He let the failure stay his. Before either of us could speak again, Dr. Voss's tablet screamed. Not chimed. Screamed. The fetal monitor beside me flashed red, then black, then red again. Someone is accessing the prenatal biometric feed, she said. Adrian turned toward the door. From where? Her face drained of color. Inside the building. The ceiling cameras rotated at once, all of them snapping toward me. Their red lights blinked in perfect sequence. 1, 2, 3. Recording. Adrian grabbed his phone. No signal. Mine buzzed against my hip. A new message appeared on the cracked screen, from the same number that had found me in the laundromat. Thank you for confirming the heir. The door locks released with a soft, obedient click. The locks clicked open like the building itself had decided I belonged to someone else. Adrian reached the door before it moved, shoulder braced against the steel, but it did not swing inward. It slid. Open sideways, smooth and obedient, responding to a command higher than his. For half a second no one stood there. Then a white transport chair rolled into view, pushed by two men in medical uniforms with no names on their badges. Behind them, cross-security held their weapons low, faces tight with confusion, not betrayal yet, but close enough to make my blood turn cold. Dr. Voss stepped in front of me. No one authorized a transfer. One of the men lifted a tablet. Emergency prenatal guardianship order. Subject is to be moved to secure observation until delivery. Subject. Not Noah. Not father. Not person. Adrian's voice dropped into something lethal. That order is fraudulent. It was countersigned by cross-family authority. The man looked past him at me, and his eyes flicked to my stomach like he was reading inventory. If the Omega resists, we are cleared to sedate. The baby twisted hard under my palm. Pain flashed low and bright, and the fetal monitor stuttered as if the machine had felt it too. Dr. Voss grabbed the sensor lead. His heart rate is spiking because you're terrifying him. The man did not look at her. Then step aside before maternal instability is added to the file. Maternal instability. The phrase had already been written once by someone who had never heard me cry in a bus station bathroom. Now it was being used in real time, turning my fear into evidence against me. Adrian moved first, but not toward them. Toward me. Then he stopped himself so abruptly I saw the war in his body. Protect. Don't claim. Save. Don't seize. Noah, he said, the private elevator is behind you. Dr. Voss knows the override. I looked at him, at the open door, at the men with the chair. And you? I hold them here. That worked so well with the cameras. The words came out cruel because terror needed somewhere to go. Adrian absorbed them, but the room changed. Dr. Voss's hand tightened around my elbow, not pulling, just grounding. Behind the transport team, one of Adrian's own guards touched his earpiece, listened, and went pale. He lowered his gun completely. Adrian saw it. Mason. The guard would not meet his eyes. Sir, command channel says stand down. Whose command? No answer. That was the answer. Power shifted again, uglier this time. Adrian's building, Adrian's guards, Adrian's bloodline, and still someone else's order had reached the room faster than his. Dr. Voss pulled me backward. The first transport man lunged. Adrian struck his wrist down, not enough to break it, enough to send the syringe clattering across the floor. Syringe. Clear liquid. My stomach turned. They had not come to escort me. They had come prepared to make my body easier to move. The second man reached for my arm, and I reacted without thinking. I swung the evidence sleeve at his face, paper and plastic hitting uselessly, but he flinched just long enough for Dr. Voss to slam her palm against a hidden panel. The rear wall opened into a service corridor. Go, she snapped. I stumbled inside, one hand under my belly, the other clutching the old hospital bracelet so hard the edge cut my skin. Adrian backed toward us, covering the corridor entrance, his eyes never leaving the men. Lock it. Dr. Voss hit the panel. The wall sealed, cutting him off on the other side. For 3 seconds there was only my breathing, the red emergency lights, and the tiny wet sting where the bracelet had broken skin. Then the fetal monitor feed appeared on Dr. Voss's tablet again, hijacked, blinking with a new line of text. Compliance recommended. Delivery rights may be reassigned. I stopped walking. Delivery rights? Dr. Voss's face hardened. They're building a case to separate you from the baby the moment he's born. The corridor seemed to narrow around my body. I had thought losing him meant a hand reaching into a crib. I had not understood they could take him before he ever touched my skin, with forms and seals and words like unstable. We reached the private elevator, but the call button was already red. Locked. Dr. Voss cursed under her breath and opened the emergency cabinet beside it. Inside was my canvas bag from the laundromat. I had not brought it here. Someone had. My hands shook as I opened it. The baby blanket Mrs. Alvarez had folded on top was still there, but something white had been pinned to it with a silver cross-tie clip. A note. 5 words, written in the same black ink as the ultrasound hidden under the detergent shelf. Ask Adrian who refused you. The note did not accuse Adrian of erasing me. It did something worse. It asked a question I had spent 6 months being too broken to ask. Dr. Voss read it over my shoulder, and her face changed in a way that told me she already knew the answer might hurt. Behind the sealed wall, something heavy struck metal. Once. Twice. Adrian's voice cut through the intercom beside the elevator, rough with effort. Noah, don't use the main lift. Take the service stairs. Mara, the old maternity wing has an analog exit. Dr. Voss grabbed my bag. I did not move. Ask him, I said. Silence filled the speaker. Then Adrian answered, lower. Now is not the time. That was all it took. Not the armed men. Not the forged order. not the cameras turning toward my stomach. Those 5 words opened the wound clean. It was never the time, was it? Dr. Voss's tablet vibrated in her hand, and a recovered file bloomed across the cracked light of the corridor. Cross Tower Internal Incident Report. 6 months old. Service entrance disturbance. Unregistered Omega. Possible paternity fixation. Action requested. Deny direct executive access. Forward to legal risk. At the bottom was a digital approval stamp. Adrian Cross. My hand went slack. The blanket slipped from my arm and landed at my feet, soft and useless and obscene. Behind the wall, Adrian stopped trying to force the door. Noah, you signed it. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to the boy in the rain on the security footage, not the person standing there with a child shifting inside him. I didn't read the full report. You signed it. This time he did not answer. That was the darkest thing he could have given me. No excuse. No denial. Just the shape of truth standing between us. Dr. Voss touched my wrist. We have to move. The tablet shrieked again before we could. A new document loaded over the old report. Emergency prenatal competency hearing, scheduled for 9 a.m., Cross Family Council chamber. My name was already there. So was Adrian's. Under fetal designation, someone had typed, unborn crosshair. Custodial status disputed. My stomach clenched so hard I doubled forward. Dr. Voss caught me. On the other side of the wall, Adrian's voice broke for the first time. Is he in pain? Do not ask about him like you just found out he matters, I snapped. The sentence left blood in my throat. It also gave me strength. The hallway lights flashed from red to white, and the elevator behind us began descending without being called. Dr. Voss shoved the old bracelet into my palm. Noah, listen to me. If they get you into that hearing alone, they will use fear as diagnosis and silence as consent. Then what do I do? She looked at the evidence sleeve, the bracelet, the note, the internal report, and finally at my stomach. You stop letting other people speak first. The elevator doors opened. Not transport men this time. Adrian stood inside, coat torn at the shoulder, blood on one hand, eyes fixed on the report glowing on the tablet between us. 2 of his own guards lay unconscious behind him. He had come through another route, fought through his own building, and still none of that erased the signature at the bottom of the file. I thought it was another extortion attempt, he said. The words were quiet, stripped of power. My legal team flagged dozens after my father's will became active. I signed the denial stack without looking. I laughed, but it broke halfway. I was a stack. He closed his eyes once. Yes. That honesty hurt more than a lie would have, because I could hate a monster cleanly. I did not know what to do with a man who had failed me by being powerful, careless, and human. The elevator alarm chimed. The chamber summons flashed on every wall screen now, turning the corridor into a courtroom before we ever reached one. Adrian stepped out slowly, stopping several feet away. Let me fix it. I looked at him, then at the men gathering at the far end of the hall, then at the document trying to name my child before he was born. No, I said. Adrian went still. I picked up the blanket, folded the note inside it, and tucked the old hospital bracelet into my sleeve where my pulse beat against the faded number. My fear did not disappear. It hardened. You don't get to fix me by standing in front of me. Dr. Voss opened the emergency stairwell. Cold air rushed up from below. Adrian did not block me. That was the first right thing he had done since the lights went out. I stepped past him with the evidence pressed to my chest and my hand over my son. This time, I said, walking toward the chamber that had already decided I was unstable, I'm not running. I reached the council chamber before they expected me to arrive on my own feet. That was the first thing they lost. The room was already arranged like a sentence. Long black table, sealed windows, screens glowing with my medical file, men and women in expensive silence waiting to discuss my body as if I had failed to attend my own life. At the head sat the man from the edge of the recovered video, older than Adrian, silver-haired, wearing the cross signet ring I had seen in the rain. Victor Cross looked at my stomach before he looked at my face. Mr. Bell, he said, almost kindly, you should be resting. I walked to the center of the room with the blanket folded under one arm and the evidence sleeve pressed to my chest. Adrian came in behind me. Not ahead. Not beside yet. Behind. The entire table noticed. Victor noticed most of all. This proceeding concerns the safety of the unborn heir, he said. No. I answered, and my voice shook, but it carried. This proceeding concerns how many times you can call me unstable before it becomes legal to steal my son. Someone gasped. Victor's expression did not change. Emotional volatility has been documented. By whom? I pulled the printed prenatal note from the sleeve and laid it on the table. A doctor? Or a legal office pretending to be one? Dr. Voss stepped in then, tablet in hand, pale but steady. The syntax and metadata prove the entry was generated outside Mercy General's medical system. Victor turned to Adrian. Control your doctor. Adrian's hands curled once at his sides. Then he said, She's not mine to control. The words moved through the room like a crack in ice. I placed the old hospital bracelet beside the report. This is from my first prenatal intake. The file attached to it originally had a paternal match. I laid down the clean ultrasound from the laundromat, the red circle around the genetic markers visible under the chamber lights. This copy was hidden where I would find it when men came to take me. Victor smiled faintly. A convenient story. My fear rose, familiar and hot, but this time it meant something harder. I reached into the blanket and took out the note pinned with the cross-tie clip. So is this, and the transport order, and the court petition, and the deleted footage. Everything convenient for you and fatal for me. Victor's smile thinned. You are proving my point, Mr. Bell. You are frightened, exhausted, and suggestible. You do not understand the weight of the bloodline you carry. There it was. Not the baby. The bloodline. The room heard it. Adrian heard it. I saw his face change. Victor had spoken too honestly because he still believed power made truth irrelevant. Dr. Voss connected her tablet to the chamber screen. Then let the record show exactly who understood it first. The corrupted security footage filled the wall, the rain-blurred image of me begging at Cross Tower. The guard appeared. My voice cracked through the speakers. Please, tell him Noah Bell is here. Tell him I need 5 minutes. Then the other voice, cleaner now because Dr. Voss had recovered the audio layer Adrian's system failed to erase. Remove him before Adrian sees him. If he claims pregnancy, document instability. The screen froze on the hand taking my pregnancy test. Victor's signet ring filled the wall behind him, impossibly large, impossibly damning. This time the room did not gasp. It went silent in the way people go silent when a structure above them starts to fall. Victor stood. That file was unlawfully recovered. And I was lawfully erased? I asked. He looked at Adrian again, not me. Your father built this house to survive sentiment. That Omega would have turned your heir into leverage. My son is not leverage, I said. He finally faced me fully. Your son is not yours to define. The last of my fears snapped. I placed both hands on the table, bracelet cutting into my wrist, my stomach between me and every person who had come to judge it. I carried him. When you called him a delusion. I protected him when your guards came with syringes. I bled in hallways built by men who thought paper could make me disappear. I am his father. I survived for him. Adrian stepped forward then, and for one terrified second I thought he would take the moment from me. Instead, he stopped at my shoulder, just behind the line I had not invited him to cross. The Cross family withdraws the guardianship petition, he said. Victor's face twisted. You don't have standing while succession is disputed. Adrian looked at me, not Victor. Then I won't claim it through succession. He removed the cross signet from his own hand and set it on the table beside my hospital bracelet. I claim nothing he does not choose to give. Victor lunged for the evidence. Adrian caught his wrist. Dr. Voss hit send. Every screen in the chamber changed at once. Recovered footage, altered file logs, transport order, access signatures, Victor's clearance. The lie went public before anyone could bury it again. Victor stared at me with naked hatred, but the guards no longer moved for him. They looked at Adrian, and Adrian looked to me. For the first time, the room waited for my voice. I picked up the blanket, folded the bracelet inside it, and turned toward the doors opening to a hall flooded with morning light. Behind me, Adrian asked softly, Noah, may I walk with you? I did not answer yet. I stepped into the light with my hand over our son, and this time no one stopped me. I did not answer Adrian in the hallway because the answer still belonged to the frightened boy I had been, and I refused to let fear speak for me again. Morning light poured through the glass roof above the chamber doors, pale and cold and real. Touching the blanket in my arms, the old bracelet folded inside it, the ultrasound paper beneath my palm. Behind us, Victor Cross was shouting at men who no longer obeyed him. Dr. Voss stayed close enough to catch me if my knees failed, but she did not hold me up. That mattered. Everyone had spent months deciding what my body meant. For the first time, they were waiting to see what I would do with it. Adrian walked 3 steps behind me all the way. To the medical wing, close enough to stop anyone who reached for me, far enough that I never felt trapped by his shadow. When we reached the exam room, Dr. Voss checked the baby first. The sound filled the room again, fast and steady. The same heartbeat that had once made Adrian go still. The same heartbeat they had tried to turn into paperwork. I cried then, not loudly, not beautifully, just with one hand over my stomach and the other gripping the edge of the bed because my son was still there. Alive. Mine. Dr. Voss printed the final report herself and placed it in my hands. No guardianship hold. No transfer order. No psychiatric flag. All removed from the active record. She paused, softer, and archived as falsified entries. The words should have felt like victory. Instead, they felt like air after drowning. Adrian stood by the door, blood drying on his knuckles, his own signet ring gone from his hand. He looked less like the untouchable man I had once begged to see and more like someone finally seeing what power had cost when he had used it carelessly. Victor is being removed from the board and reported for the forged medical orders, he said. The guards who followed his command channel are suspended pending investigation. Mercy General is turning over every file. I waited for the part where he promised everything would be fixed. He did not. He looked at the blanket in my lap instead. None of that gives back the night you stood in the rain. My throat tightened. No, and it doesn't give me the right to stand next to him. His voice dropped. Or you. He took a document from his coat and set it on the counter, not in my lap, not in my hands, not like a demand. Legal prepared this after the hearing. It removes any automatic cross-claim over medical decisions, custody, residence, birth arrangements, and public identity. Nothing happens unless you choose it. I stared at the paper until the words blurred. For 6 months, every document had been a weapon. This one felt dangerous for a different reason. It asked me to believe a signature could protect instead of erase. Why? I asked. Adrian's answer came without performance. Because I signed once without reading, and it helped take your voice. I will never ask you to trust my power again unless I put limits on it first. The baby moved under my hand, a slow roll instead of a kick. I looked down at the curve I had hidden under coats, behind doors, beneath cheap blankets in places that smelled like detergent and rain. I remembered pressing my palm there in the laundromat while headlights crawled over the wall. I remembered thinking I had to disappear to keep him. Now the windows were full of daylight, the cameras outside the room were off, and the man everyone feared was waiting for permission to breathe too close. I picked up the pen, not to forgive everything, not to make us whole in one neat ending. I signed where the form confirmed my rights first. Then I looked at Adrian. You can be at the birth if I ask you to be. His eyes closed for half a second, as if that small mercy was too much to hold. Thank you. And you can walk with me now. He did not smile like he had won. He moved like he had been trusted with something fragile and knew it could still be taken away. When we left the medical wing, reporters waited behind the glass lobby doors, held back by security and the morning storm of a story no one could bury anymore. My name was already on the corrected record. My son's existence was no longer a rumor, a fraud, or a threat hidden in a file. Adrian stopped beside me, not in front. Do you want another exit? He asked. I looked at the doors, at the light beyond them, at the world that had once made me cover my stomach like shame. My fingers found the old hospital bracelet inside the folded blanket. Father, unknown. That lie had carried me through the darkest months because it was the only proof I had. I tucked it beside the new report, not to keep the lie alive, but to remember that I had survived it. Then I placed both hands over my son, lifted my head, and walked through the doors. The cameras flashed. Adrian stayed beside me, not shielding my face, not claiming my child, just walking where I had allowed him to walk. And for the first time since the night I ran, I did not hide my stomach from the light. I was not a scandal. My son was not a mistake. We were not something powerful men had failed to erase. We were real, we were believed, and we were finally going home.